It was Christmas Eve/day, and I was in the living room alone, watching a cool video, as everyone had gone to bed. With it being 1 AM, I leapt up from my chair and walked over to the front door. I would slip on my shoes and coat and tread outside to turn off the outside lights. As I was ready to go to bed now, the icy wind would scar my face as the snow fell softly onto the ground. The visibility was extremely dense, with only a fading light providing a sort of comfort from the street lamps. As I provided back into the direction of the front door, a realization kicked in though. The wind had slammed the door shut tight, and I foolishly left the key on the inside, so I couldn't actually get in to the door. I then tried knocking over the windows and the door itself, but everyone was all asleep. So I tried the back door though, and that was locked. I felt there was no sign of an entry, with the snow beating down on my charcoal black coat. I looked up to the sky to exhaust my disappointment, but then... Wait, the chimney, I thought. That's the only way in, but I knew the danger that it could cause me if I get this wrong, as I could fall down and hurt myself. The darkness blinding my vision, I climbed up onto a near fence and started to make my way onto the house. But then I noticed footprints on the roof of the house. They were massive and deep. I wondered who or what was here. But then suddenly a snowball hit me out of nowhere. The wind covered the cries of that sound. Like an owl, I scanned around for my attacker, but nothing was there. My nerves started to twitch as I ignored it, continued the climb, until I made it to the top where the chimney was. I would peer into the black puddle hole that awaited me. As I gently started my descent, I felt a push from behind. I fell to my doom. My boots saved me though, as I welded hard into the brick of the walls. I heard a "ho, ho, ho," and then I saw a red coat as I briefly looked up in horror, but nothing I could see was there. I slid down gently into the living room as the thud eventually woke up my parents and other brothers. Our tree had magically gained presence underneath through with me in awe. But I heard sirens wailing outside as the police bust down the front door, and I was arrested for crimes I did not commit, of break-ins through the chimney, with the boot marks matching the ones that I was wearing. Outside with the police, I saw the image of a red coat and an evil smile that laughed in jolly tune as the mist of snow blew away the man like he was a ghost. I realized that Santa had set me up and got me charged for a break-in I did not commit. I will not forget that night, as that night I may have saw an evil version of Santa, and whether he was a ghost or not is a mystery. But I will never forget that night, as I lay in my prison cell, crying. It was almost Christmas time, and I agreed to spend the holidays with my family. I drove to the airport alone and got checked in, parking near a big Range Rover which was alone, with most of the cars parked in another spot. I didn't think much at first, but I would regret it doing this. A man came up to me and asked me, "Was that my car?" And I said, "Yes, of course it is." He then asked me where I was flying to. I told him that I was going to Boston to spend time with my family, and that my flight was going to leave soon, so I had to get going. He smiled and replied, "That's great. Have a nice flight." I quickly scooted away from the car park and into the terminal. After checking my bags in and through the security, I noticed that strange things happened to me, such as weird vibes that I had, like someone was following me. I turned round, but there was no one there, just other people were walking, running to their gates, which was quite weird at the time. I eventually made it to gate B20. I got on the plane with no problems, but then I saw him, the man from earlier, He was walking down the aisle and clearly looking for me. I ducked down and hid from out of sight. After a few minutes passed, I got up and sat in my seat. With my seatbelt on, we started to taxi, and we were in the air in no time. I had a drink and my meal during the flight, and I had to go to the bathroom after getting out of my seat. I saw the queue for the bathroom, which was only one person waiting. I waited for the door to open, but it never did, and the man in front of me was getting impatient and left to go to the other bathroom on the plane. I therefore waited and waited, with the urgency of needing to go. I banged on the door. Whoever was in there came out slowly, but then it hit me. It was the person from earlier who'd snuck onto the plane and hid in the bathroom on takeoff. I attempted to get away, but he came after me. So the chase would not last long though, as the airline cart stopped me from progressing. But then a passenger blocked the man who was chasing me, firmly saying to leave me alone. Flight crew noticed this and got the man who was chasing me. They watched him on this empty seat, and so that the police would deal with him when we landed. I slept through most of the flight after that, and we landed safely. But I never saw the guy again after that, after the police officers took him away and out of the airport. I would then meet up with my friend, who was waiting for me in the car park. That was all 10 years ago. I never told this story to anyone until now. I always wonder what would happen if that man was not there to detain him until the police arrived. As the days got shorter, instead of walking, I would take the bus home. It would always be crowded during the rush hour, but I'd usually go on my phone and listen to Spotify music on the way home. But one journey I always remember, it was Christmas Eve and I was following my routine of getting on the bus home. But when I got on the bus driver seemed a bit off to me. As he wasn't the usual driver that I always see every day, I asked him, and he lightly said that the other driver was ill, couldn't drive the bus today. I shrugged it off and got my ticket, then walked swiftly to my seat. But it was odd though, that there was only 1 or 2 people on this bus, when there usually should be a few more people. We moved off quickly, and at first nothing seemed out of the ordinary. But then it changed, such as missing out certain bus stops that the route towards my bus stop always was at. As the salamander bus pursued forward, the already people on the bus had not moved from the same position they had been since. I got on and I noticed an awful smell creep up my nose, which again signaled something wrong. I got up and slowly scooted my way over to the man who was just sitting in the corner on a seat. I spoke, saying, "Are you okay?" He didn't respond. I got even closer and asked if he wanted to talk. Suddenly I felt a thump. The bus started driving off into the woods. In my confusion, I looked closer at the man. He'd been wearing a coat on, but then I saw it. He was dead, and covered in blood, as he was carrying a present, clearly for one of his family members. The other lady was much the same, who was on the bus. She was dead, with her soul swallowed up. The bus driver stared at me with his dagger eyelashes moving up as he smiled. Being petrified, I stood still for a second, as I realised I felt my hands were aging, that I needed to find a way out before something else happened. I tried the windows, but of course they were locked. Using all my strength, I decided to try and open the doors to the bus, but they wouldn't open. I was fully trapped. The crunching of the leaves as the bus plunged further into the forest, until I saw the helicopter, and the police had surrounded the bus as we swerved off and crashed into a tree. The driver jumped out hurt and crawling to escape, but the cops got to him quickly and arrested him. I had injuries and I'd go to hospital. Later I found myself in a hospital bed. I had only a few minor injuries, which I believe was a Christmas miracle. That day I didn't die. The man was arrested for stealing the bus, and they found the real bus driver. I will always be wary of public transport after that experience, because I probably wouldn't be here today.